Right, so on your quiz for section 3 in chemistry, you don't have to do number 1 or 4, you just need to do 2 and 3. Um, Hopefully you guys, well, I know you guys appreciate doing less work, so you don't mind when I cut out a few questions, but hopefully these videos help to give you extra examples and help you figure out what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm going to go through 1 and 4. Um, 1 is pretty much the same style as what we've been doing. Number 4, though, is a style of question that will definitely be on your test. So make sure you watch that part. Otherwise, in order to do this first problem here, I need to work out what my limiting reactant is. Remember, you always just take whatever reactants are given. I'm given A and B here, oxygen and this carbon disulfide. And I'm just trying to change A into B and B into A to figure out how much of each thing I need, how much I have, how much I need. Then I can figure out what's limiting. Then I can do my excess. So I'm just going to walk through that, right? 1 mole CS2 should take 3 moles of oxygen to react with 1 mole of that CS2. So that kind of cancels labels there, and I have an answer of 3 moles of oxygen. Again, it's supposed to have sig figs here, so I should probably make it 3.00 moles of oxygen. But your whole purpose of this is to make sure you understand that you need 3 moles of oxygen to react with 1 mole of CS2, but you have 6 moles of oxygen, which means you have plenty of oxygen available right now, right? So that should already tell you or give you a hint as to whether or not the oxygen should be limiting. But I'm also going to do the other work just because I usually have to. 6.00 moles of oxygen. How many moles of CS2 would be needed to react with that? Sorry, that C looked funny. Again, same idea, just flip your ratio. This time I get an answer of 2 moles CS2. And again, I'm supposed to interpret this. I'm supposed to understand that, okay, I need this much. This is how much I have. I don't have enough, right? So at the end of the day, you're supposed to understand that because I don't have enough CS2 to react with all of the oxygen, that means that CS2 is going to be my limiting reactant. So again, these two values are what you need, right? The given values are what you have. If what you have 1 mole, I'm just writing it with 1 sig fig because I don't need extra sig figs here. If what you have is less than what you need, that's the whole idea of this, right? You can't have less than you need and actually pull off whatever it is that you want to do, right? If you don't have $10 to buy that Big Mac meal at McDonald's, you're probably going to walk away with something off the dollar menu, right? So you're limited by that CS2, which means that oxygen is in excess. So I needed this work here, right? And I also could tell that the CS2 was limiting when I saw that I have more than I need for the oxygen, because that's just the opposite of the logic. But again, I still need those two numbers because I need to know, okay, I have 6 moles. I only needed 3 moles of that. So how much extra is there? Well, it turns out in this case there are 3 moles excess of oxygen. So I can answer both A and B pretty simply, pretty easily. I just do that work. Right? When you do number 2, it starts you out with grams of A, grams of B, right? All you have to do is change your grams into moles for both things, and then start doing the same thing we're doing here, right? So if you get that mole amount first and do the same thing I did in this problem, you should be able to answer number 2 pretty easily. But I also ask you in the form, I remind you, I put it on the announcement to download the thing to begin with. Check that reaction on number 2 with me through an email. And that way I know you're not going to do the whole thing wrong just because you screwed up a ratio or you screwed up one of the formulas, right? It'd really be a shame to have to do that whole thing all over again because you made one little mistake in your full balanced equation. So check that with me before you do anything else. But one last question on number 1, how many moles of each product are formed? This should be fairly easy to do. Again, I actually know that my CS2 is limiting and that I was given 1 mole of that. So that's what I have to start with. I could kind of skip a step here, but it's not really going to hurt me to write it in because I know it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, the carbon dioxide and the CS2. So I could have skipped a step if I wanted to, but it's not really that hard to do, so I'm not that worried about it. That's going to give me an answer, obviously, since I only want mole as an answer. 1 mole of CO2. If you just write that answer down, though, you have to write a 1-to-1 ratio next to it so that I know that's how you came up with that answer. Whereas the other one you have to work out because it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. If I started with 1 mole of CS2, I'm going to get 2 SO2s for every 1 CS2. So I'm going to double that. It ends up being 2. And maybe you could have done that in your head, but you still have to show your work. So just do what you have to do. I'll let you shortcut sometimes, but in this case, I would only let you shortcut for this first one because it was a 1-to-1 ratio. But these are my 2 answers. That's all you're going to need in this case.